In this video, we will talk about: is Bitcoin a store of value? So make sure to watch the full video. Hi guys! Welcome to a new video from Cryptoverse. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel. What is a store of value? A store of value is an asset that's capable of retaining value over time. If you purchased a good store of value today, you could be reasonably certain that its value would not depreciate over time. In the future, you would expect the asset to be worth just as much, if not more so. When you think of such a safe haven asset, gold or silver probably come to mind. There are a handful of reasons why these have traditionally held value, which we'll get into shortly. What makes a good store of value? To understand what makes a good store of value, let's first explore what might make a poor store of value. If we want something to be preserved for long periods of time, it stands to reason that it needs to be durable. Consider food. Apples and bananas have some intrinsic value, as humans require nutrition to live. When food is scarce, these items would no doubt be highly valuable. But that doesn't make them a good store of value. They'll be worth a lot less if you keep them in a safe for several years because they'll obviously degrade. But what about something intrinsically valuable that's also durable? Say, dry pasta. That's better in the long run, but there's still no guarantee that it holds value. Pasta is cheaply produced from readily available resources. Anyone can flood the market with more pasta, so the pasta in circulation will depreciate in value as supply outweighs demand. Therefore, for something to maintain value, it must also be scarce. Some consider fiat currencies, dollars, euros, yen, a good way to store wealth as they retain value in the long term. But they're actually poor stores of value because the purchasing power drops significantly as more units are created. Just like the pasta, you could withdraw your life savings and stash them under your mattress for 20 years, but they won't have the same purchasing power when you eventually decide to spend them. In the year 2000, $100,000 could buy you a lot more than it can today. This is mainly due to inflation, which refers to the increase in the price of goods and services. In many cases, inflation is caused by an excessive supply of fiat currency due to the government practice of printing more money. To illustrate, suppose that you hold 25% of the total supply of $100 billion, so $25 billion. Time goes on, and the government decides to print, for instance, an additional $800 billion to stimulate the economy. Your piece of the pie has suddenly dropped to 3%. There's a lot more money in circulation, so it stands to reason that your share doesn't hold as much purchasing power as it used to. Like our pasta mentioned earlier, dollars are not expensive to produce. The above can happen in a matter of days. With a good store of value, it should be challenging to flood the market with new units. In other words, your piece of the pie should dilute very slowly, if at all. The case for Bitcoin as a store of value. From the early days of Bitcoin, proponents have made the case for the cryptocurrency being more akin to digital gold than simple digital currency. In recent years, this narrative has been echoed by many Bitcoin enthusiasts. The store of value thesis for Bitcoin argues that it's one of the soundest assets known to man. Proponents of the thesis believe that Bitcoin is the best way to store wealth such that it isn't devalued over time. Scarcity. Perhaps one of the most persuasive arguments for the store of value thesis is that Bitcoin has a finite supply. As you may remember from our article, What is Bitcoin? There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. The protocol makes sure of this with a hard-coded rule. The only way that new coins can be created is through the process of mining, which is somewhat analogous to how gold is mined. But instead of drilling into the earth, Bitcoin miners must crack a cryptographic puzzle using computational power. Doing so will earn them fresh coins. As time goes on, the reward diminishes due to events known as halvings. If you guessed that this halves the reward, you'd be absolutely right. In the early days of Bitcoin, the system rewarded 50 BTC to any miner that produced a valid block. During the first halving, this number was reduced to 25 BTC. The subsequent halving cut it in half to 12.5 BTC, and the next one will slash miners' reward to 6.25 Bitcoins per block. This process will continue on for another 100 plus years until the final fraction of a coin has entered into circulation. Decentralization. It's open source software. You might be thinking, I can copy the code and make my own version with an additional 100 million coins. You could indeed do that. Let's say you clone the software, make the changes, and run a node. Everything seems to be working fine. There's just one problem. There are no other nodes to connect to. You see, as soon as you changed the parameters of your software, members on the Bitcoin network started ignoring you. You forked, and the program you're running is no longer what's globally accepted as Bitcoin. What you've just done is functionally equivalent to taking a photo of the Mona Lisa and claiming there are now two Mona Lisas. You can convince yourself that that's the case, but good luck convincing anyone else. The properties of good money. Believers in the store of value thesis also point to features of Bitcoin that make it good money. It's not just a scarce digital resource, but one that shares characteristics that have traditionally been adopted in currencies for centuries. Gold has been used as money across civilizations since their inception. There are a handful of reasons for this. We've talked about durability and scarcity already. These can make good assets, but not necessarily good forms of currency. For that, you want fungibility, portability, and divisibility. Fungibility. Fungibility means that units are indistinguishable. With gold, you can take any 2 ounces, and they'll be worth the same. This is true of things like stocks and cash as well. It doesn't matter which particular unit you're holding. It'll hold an equal value to any other of the same kind. Bitcoin fungibility is a tricky subject. It shouldn't really matter what coin you're holding. In most cases, 1 BTC equals 1 BTC. Where it gets complicated is when you consider that each unit can be linked back to previous transactions. There are cases where businesses blacklist funds that they believe have been involved in criminal activities, even if the holder received them after. Portability. Portability denotes the ease of transporting an asset. $10,000 in $100 bills. Easy enough to move around. $10,000 worth of oil. Not so much. Good currency needs to have a small form factor. It needs to be easy to carry so that individuals can pay each other for goods and services. Gold has traditionally been excellent in this regard. At the time of this writing, a standard gold coin holds almost $1,500 in value. It's unlikely that you'd be making purchases worth a full ounce of gold, so smaller denominations take up even less space. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.